On any Linux system, you can interact with the terminal. The terminal gives you control over the complete system. Because Linux is a multi-user system, you want to know your username or your user whenever you use it, because users can have certain permissions. For example, if I type the command who am I, you'll see we are the user root. So root is the most powerful user on any Linux system. It can add drivers, remove files, it can do everything. So in this case, we run the command who am I, press enter, and it shows you we are the user root. Then we can see which files are in the current folder. Typically in graphical interfaces, you would do this in a file explorer. In the command line, you can type the command ls, and you can see which files are in the current folder. So to check the current folder, we do pwd, and to list files and folders, we do ls. In this case, we have this flag.txt when we listed files and folders. Next, we can read the file as well in the command line. So we type cut, which will output the contents of the file, followed by the file name. Press enter, and you'll see we got the contents of the file. So we submit it. ls cat who am I, we can interact with the Linux system. So let's do the next lab. So there's more to files and folders. We already saw this pwd command, where if we type pwd, we see the current directory. So in this case, we are in home workspace. Note that some Linux systems, they'll show you your current folder even before you type the commands. In this case, we are in home workspace. And we can control the computer using the terminal. For example, if I list files and folders, you'll see we only have this node.txt. We can make a new folder, for example, mkdir my underscore folder. And if I list it, you'll see we have a new folder. We can do this for any folder. For example, we do mkdir folder 1, folder 2, folder 3. If we then list them, you'll see it made a bunch of folders. So we run the command mkdir my folder. He asks, does the my folder appear? We have this my folder, and yes, it does. Now we found this node.txt. They want us to read it. To read any text file, we do cut, followed by the file name, and press enter. You'll see we have this file name here. Now it appears there is a hidden file, and to view those, we need to use a flag, the -a flag. So if we do ls space normally, we see just these files and folders. If we do ls -a, it will also tell us anything hidden. In this case, we find this file .hidden. So this is called a flag, a -a, and this can be minus whatever. Different commands have different flags. In this case, we have the .hidden. And we can read this file using the cut command. So we cut .hidden, and we find the contents of that file. So, of course, we can remove things from the system. Using the rm command, for example, we can remove this folder. For folders, you want to do rm-rf. We add these flags. So let's say we remove these 3 folders, and you'll see they're now gone. They want us to remove this node.txt as well. We can do rm node.txt, and you'll see it is no longer there. So it's no longer visible. Next, let's do the next Linux lab. So on Linux, you can find additional flags. There are many flags for commands. So here we have the ls command with the -f flag. So we do ls and ls minus capital F, and it will tell you about the file types or folders. So you'll notice this slash here that indicates it's a folder. Also, it is in blue. So Linux is, of course, quite an old system. In the past, it was black and white. Now we already have colors that indicate folders and files. You also notice here this asterisk, it indicates that it's a file, and this slash indicates it's a folder. So in the case of archive zone, it has a slash, that means it's a folder. Then for the script launcher, we have this asterisk. So we add this asterisk. we also can use another flag, the -L, provides additional details. So it will tell you things like the file permissions, the user, the group, and when it was created. In this case, the first character for the archive zone is a D, stands for directory. You notice the other one, this is a directory archive zone. It has it starting with a D here. And the other one, the script launcher, it starts with a minus, indicating file. In this case, this is a D. And we can, of course, look for hidden files as well with the -A flag. Notice we can do this, but we can do this as well, whatever you prefer. So in this case, we have a hidden file .sys_config, and if we read it, we can find this flag. And let's go for the next lab. So we have this lab, Ghost in the Machine. So let's take a look. So in this one, we are looking at environment variables. In Linux systems, you can set environment variables and you can view them with the command env. If you press env enter, you see all the environment variables. In this case, there's a file path stored in the variable ghost signal. So these are all variables with values, right? So they are stored. Ghost signal maps to this, pwd maps to that. So in this case, they ask us about a ghost signal, and we have this value. Now we can enter this ghost signal, so we can do cd followed by this path. If we run ls, you'll see it is not empty. We have this vault directory inside it. Now let's see if there's anything hidden here. ls -a. In this case, there doesn't seem to be anything hidden. But let's go into that directory. Or in this case, they just ask us about a directory. So maybe they just ask us for a vault. There we go. And let's take a look inside, searching for hidden ones, -a showing all. And we have a .key inside. And we can read this file. So we do cut .key, and we then have the flag. So I've read this section. Let's go to the next lab. So the next lab is a challenge. Let's take a look. So the challenge is called case 47. Let's investigate this system. There appears to be several flags, and they are hidden. So in this case, we have this folder case 47. Let's see if we have any files here. We have flag 1 and flag 5, so that was easy. We can simply read them. So I'll read the fifth one as well. Now let's take a look if there's anything hidden here. You can go inside archive. We find a hidden file here, .flag.txt. Notice I listed the hidden files. So we have the fourth flag. Now let's go up a folder. Let's look at the evidence. Again, list the hidden files, and we find here flag2.txt. Can paste that in as well. And let's look at this suspects folder, and we find flag3.txt. Let's read the file contents, and there we go. We now read all the flags. So let's go a little bit more into files. We can do this file control lab, and they ask us to use the touch command to create a new file. So we create a file with touch notes.txt, list files and folders. We have notes.txt. Now we can copy a file to another. So first we'll need to move into TMP blueprint. And then they want us to use the copy command. So we copy this file, master plan to backup plan.txt. And this will command just copies this file from the source to the destination. So let's put a copy command. We'll see if I list files and folders. We now have the original file and the copy. So with the copy command, it doesn't delete anything, it simply duplicates. We can also rename files, and in Linux you rename files with the move command. So you can do, let's go to /root, cd/root. We have this notes.txt, and let's rename it. So we do mv notes.txt, followed by the new file name. Then list files and folders, and you'll see it has been renamed. So there is no rename command, there is the move command, mv, and that renames a file from the old name to the new name. So in this case, the file is does no longer exist. We can, of course, create directories, mkdir research. Let's see, we have the research folder, and see, if we want to move it, we use the mv command. And we can also read files. So if we go to the TMP blueprint, we can do cut and then read the file master plan, and we find the final flag.